I never thought I'd be hosting a podcast, but we are going strong. Today is a great time for you to get your message out there. And guess what? It's not that hard. Find the right partner. For us at the XM Podcast, that was Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout gets you listed in all the major podcast directories like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Follow the link in the show notes and let Buzzsprout know the XM Podcast sent you. Get a $20 credit after your second paid invoice. It really helps support our show.
Welcome to the XM Podcast. Here is your host, mental health therapist, Matthew Kanabe.
I am very hard on myself, dealt with severe anxiety.
And it made me feel like a monster. I didn't have the energy to care.
There was just nothing more but to face what I had been running from.
I'm already an anxiety-filled mess.
It's just love. Like, it just goes back to love.
So I just got to be honest and tell all of you that I really enjoy getting to do these podcasts and then sharing them with you because I get a chance to hang with some of my favorite people who inspire me and they make me laugh, who I learn from. And I am grateful for the opportunity to continue to bring these conversations to you through the XM Podcast. So with that being said, today is no exception. I am thrilled to share this topic and enjoy hanging with our guests so much that it almost seems unfair. You'll understand after you listen to our conversation about connecting with others. Please welcome to the podcast my good friend, Pastor Austin McCann.
Oh, it's good to be here, man. Thanks for the invite. I know, I've enjoyed listening to some of these episodes over the little bit, and it was cool. So it was fun to get the invite. So glad I'm here.
So as I was going through and looking for a podcast that you and I'd done before, because I really did think that you and I've recorded before, but I've actually done some of the ones that you've done for Redemption, called Redemption Unscripted. But I did come across that I've done one with your wife.
That is true.
And she has been on the podcast and was a massively successful podcast that she and I did that, as you and I were talking before we started recording, that people continue to go to because her story is incredible.
That's awesome.
And it's relatable. What she's going through, I think a lot of people experience a lot of chronic pain and stuff like that. Yeah. And so if you want to check out Crystal's episode, it's still out there and you can do that.
It'll probably be better than mine. So go give her a listen. Yeah.
That's right. If you're about 3 minutes or 5 minutes into this one and you're not feeling it, check Crystal's
the other
out.
McCann.
That's right. Well, Austin, if you wouldn't mind just sharing with our audience a little bit about who Austin McCann is.
Yeah, so I am the executive pastor at Redemption Chapel. So I've been there for almost 13 years now. So about to hit 13, and I'm a Carolina boy. So I grew up in North Carolina, moved to Ohio to start working at the church back in the day. So never thought this is where I would land and have a family now in Ohio. So I love it up here. But came on. Did youth ministry for like 7-8 years, transitioned to one of our pastors, and then a couple years ago to the executive pastor. And it's been awesome. I love what I get to do. I'm a behind the scenes admin task minded person. I love cranking things out on Excel. I love details. So I'm not the pastor you might see up front all the time, but I do what I do so our other pastors who are gifted in that, and that's more their role there up front. So I love that. And then I get to do men's ministry as part of that, which is kind of like when the business side of the church is predominantly a lot of my job. It's fun to have some of that in the trenches of the men's ministry with our dudes. So that's been really fun.
Well, I can say personally, and most of our listeners know that I also attend Redemption and have been a part of that church for quite a while now, that you are massively valued, and the gifts that you bring to our church are immeasurable. And I've been able to see that over the last couple of years, and seeing you just kind of grow in your role and the need that our church has for all that you do. And you got two little ones who are dear friends of my two little ones. Yep. And my youngest is always saying, "That's my best friend," all of the time. And just love your family, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, same to you.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about what we have been doing at Redemption over the last several years for men. But when I say that, as you and I talked before, this doesn't exclude women. This is going to be about the importance of men gathering, but the importance of that also relates to those who are in relationship with those
Yep.
men. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience and thoughts about that?
Yeah, and I think it's great because I think, whether we like it or not, when it comes to church ministry in our context and our culture, women are more involved. I mean, it is what it is. The numbers bear it out. Women are more likely to be in church events. So that I think a lot of times where women might sit back and go, man, I wish the men in my life would be more involved. A lot of times their involvement as the ladies first is sometimes what gets them in there. So if you are a lady listening and you're like, man, I'm involved. I wish my husband, or maybe you have an adult son that you would love to see involved in men's ministry. Sometimes it's just you being consistent and being involved. Like that's doing more than you realize. I mean, the amount of guys who are involved in even the event we're going to talk about a little bit, but even our men's ministry in general, because the lady in their life pushed them to get there, like that's pretty common. Like the amount of dudes who are like, I never wanted to come to this event. My wife really pushed me, and I'm so glad she did. So I think the lady's voice is huge in that to get men involved.
And so we'll just kind of open the floodgates. Why do you think it's important for guys to do these types of events? Why is it important for guys to get together? Because we do this very similar thing with women too. The importance is on both sides. It's not that it's more important for men to get together, and it's not important for women. But why is it important for us to get together like a men's conference?
Yeah, I think some of it is naturally if men will not naturally do it on their own. Like some guys are going to be wired. You get some of those dudes that are just more relational. They're going to get guys together and hang out. But I would say the common adult man in our culture is he's grinding at work. He's busy at home. He probably maybe has like one hobby, so he might play golf. But outside of that, like he doesn't feel like there's any margin, and he doesn't see any space of like, I need to go do anything. Like he's just focused on pay the bills, take care of the family, try to sneak in a hobby when I can. And I think a lot of guys are just going through life with their head down, and they know they need relationships with other men. They know they need space to process what they're going through, what they're thinking. But I think men are just, they're isolated because they're busy and just trying to do what they think men should do. And that's work hard, provide, and maybe have a little fun on the side. So I think if we don't do events where we give guys space to gather, to give guys space to grow, most guys just aren't going to do it on their own. And so it's giving them an opportunity and calling them into it that I think is really important.
And I also think, because a lot of it, you described the both of us.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's my life.
You nailed it on the head with the golf part too. But there's also a sense sometimes of like a guilt. Like, if I'm not working or I'm not with my family, then there's a sense of guilt. And, my wife's not putting that on me. I do know guys that I'm friends with that is a guilt to do anything outside of work and whatever. What do we do with that issue?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and maybe I think we'll put some pressure on the guys. I think maybe it's men that might be our fault a little bit. I think sometimes as men what we've probably done is maybe when we're newly married or when we're kind of first getting, we're leaving kind of young adult going into adulthood, we probably think that we should have way more time to have fun. So maybe we abuse the time we have. Like I know guys and I'm like, dude, I don't know how you're playing that much golf with the family at home. Like I would love to play that much golf, but like we're not teenagers anymore. Like there is a sense of, it's great to have space to have fun as men, but God's not told us to like, that's 90% of our lives and then do some family stuff on the side. Like if anything, it's we lay down our time, we lay down our comfort to love the people around us, to serve our families. Now, I think there's space to then get away and have fun, to gather, to connect. But I think as men, if we're honest, we're like, we've probably abused that in the past, which maybe is why in the present it's hard and we feel guilty. So I think it's all a hard issue of like how you're going about it. Like if you're a dude and you're just like, man, I'm trying to get away because I can't deal with my family anymore and I need a break. Like okay, what's your heart in that? Like, if it's to get away, to grow and get better and to go back and love and serve, absolutely. Like, Jesus withdrew and got alone time to come back. He got time with the small group, came back to the crowds. But if you're just like, man, my family's really annoying me, I got to get away.
That's different.
Like what's motivating you to get that time away?
Yeah.
And I think if it's for a right reason, I don't know if there's many wives or any women that have, a man in their lives, significant others that would go, I don't want him to get that. Like, if it's for the right reasons, I think most women would champion that and go, that's going to help you grow. Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
LPC, LPCC, IMFT, LISW, PhD. If you don't know what any of those are, go ahead and hit the 30-second fast forward button and enjoy the podcast. But if you know someone or happen to have those credentials, then Emerge might be your next career path. If you're seeking to join a team that provides authentic Christian counseling and utilizes advanced modalities, then apply today at emerge.org/careers and join us in the battle to help people find freedom and rest.
I think it's always about finding balance within everything that we do. I was speaking to a group of people yesterday, and I shared this concept of, Genesis through Revelation is a book of love, but it really is a book of discipline and balance.
That's true.
It's a constant reminder of even good things, when they get out of balance, are not healthy.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that my wife and I practice, and I've probably shared this before, but I think it's so important because it's a way that we care and love and serve each other, is that there are times where, a Saturday morning we'll and we're in Northeast Ohio, so it's a few months out of the year, but she'll look at me and she goes, "You need to go golfing today." Yeah. And those moments, it's like when you have that permission, and the reason she does that is she goes, "I'd rather you be gone for 2 to 4 hours and come back a better version of yourself and a better dad and more engaged than you be here and not connected." And she knows that is my space to do that. Now, vice versa, I'll see her sometimes and go, it's probably time you call your sister or you call your girlfriends and maybe go out for a night and go to have dinner, because that's her thing. And we try to serve each other in that way. And does it work perfectly all the time? No, but it's like that's a way that we can be serving our spouse
100%,
to care for them in that way, which brings us back to, when we do women's conference, we challenge the men, do whatever you can to make sure your wife can attend this event, because it will allow her to engage, be even better when she comes back. In the same token, we're now just a couple weeks away from doing the same thing with our men's conference. Talk about our men's conference and kind of where it started and how it's grown and why we do it. And
so I got to give credit to my wife. So shout out to Crystal. She got the shout out for the episode. I'll give her a shout out now. So some of it was actually, she was a little bit what's behind the idea. So originally, 5-6 years ago, we were coming out of COVID and we wanted to do a men's overnight event. That was kind of our thought, get some men together for an overnight. So we were going to rent a camp and do kind of the men's retreat. So bring guys out to a camp Friday night, stay all night, do Saturday. And I was on the fence because I'm like, this is right after the world kind of opened back up. And I'm like, first of all, it's like, are any guys going to want to sleep in a cabin after we just went through a pandemic? That there's questions.
Right.
And then there's also the reality. I'm like, I'm a younger dude, so I'm a little more flexible. I'm like, guys that are a little older, like they're probably not going to want to sleep in a like guys want to go home and sleep in their own bed. Like, I just don't know how many guys would do it. So my wife, she goes, "Hey, why don't you just do it at the church, do more of a conference, like do a couple of sessions, have some fun stuff mixed in, but do it out on our property so guys can come to it on Friday night, go home and sleep, come back on Saturday." And I'm like, let's give it a shot. And it was, the first year I think we planned for we would get 60, 80 guys, and I think we had 150. And then
awesome. Every
every year since then, we've jumped 50 to 100 guys each time. So last year was almost 400, our biggest one yet. And it really is. It's designed to be, I think why we've never gone back to the camp idea, the retreat, is because we've noticed the type of guy that we're really targeting is that dude that would be maybe fearful of going that far out of his comfort zone, but he's willing to come to the property maybe he's been to on a Sunday, or maybe his friends go there and he's heard about it, but he's going to come there on Friday night, and then he's like, sweet, I get to go home, sleep in my own bed, come back. Way more likely to do that. And so it's a Friday night, a Saturday, half day, and then basically our template is like we get the whole group together for a couple of sessions. There's really good worship. I mean, you've been a part of that, leading us on the band. So great worship. We bring in guest speakers, challenging teaching, and then in addition, we've learned men connect best when they're doing stuff. So if all we did is sit around and listen to speakers and talk, that would be good, but I don't think it would be great. I think where it becomes great is we give guys competitions, we give them just fun stuff. We turn one of our rooms into a putting green and have a putting contest.
Love that.
We're doing electric scooter racers this year, so
Nice.
Hopefully no one gets hurt. But it's fun to get guys chatting and connecting as they're just laughing and having fun, which I think is a key.
And I know a lot of different places, different churches and ministries do different things. I love the fact that I love seeing us utilize our building that we've invested so much in, and seeing it used that way, because it's our church, but for that 2 days, it kind of turns into something else.
100%.
But
yeah.
we're utilizing a place that we all go and worship and we're comfortable at.
Yep.
But it doesn't seem like it's the same place that you would go to on Sunday, because it's kind of converted into a man cave,
Yeah.
giant man
Yeah.
cave for a couple days. And I think that does draw guys in. And then the other part of it that I appreciate is I'm not completely absent from my family for a weekend.
That's huge.
Which would eliminate a lot of guys. It's like you're there a lot of the evening on Friday, but I still have time to work on Friday. It's time to go home for a little bit. And then Saturday, I'm still with the family by 3-4 o'clock.
Yep.
But you get so much in that time.
Yeah. Yeah. We pack. It is amazing when you look. I just walked through the schedule the other day with some of our volunteers. I mean, it's amazing how much stuff basically in a 24-hour period we pack in there. It's like you said, it goes late Friday night, half the day Saturday, but it's, and I think that's some of what works is guys, if you give guys too much time just to sit around and it's not moving quick, I think a lot of dudes get disengaged. So I think having a schedule that is like, man, we're going to have some sessions, but then right after that, boom, 2 hours of activity, go have fun. Like you said, there's music playing on the speakers you probably wouldn't hear on a Sunday morning. There's activities going on. I mean, the atrium, like you said, is turned into like, whether it's cornhole, putting. I mean, it's a little bit of everything going on in there, but it's fun. It's cool. My favorite part of the event is there's a couple of things, but one of my favorite things is on Friday night when we have all those activities outside, inside, every room is kind of doing something. I just love walking around and like hearing the roar of guys laughing and talking, and that's like happens in the worship center, happens in the other rooms, it happens outside, and I just love hearing and seeing that of guys. Sometimes just seeing guys be able to pick their head up from the craziness of life for a couple of hours and just have fun, and I think that opens them up to then when we go to the session and there is a challenge from the speaker or we worship together in song, there's something that guys they're way more vulnerable in that moment because they've been loosened up a little bit with the fun.
And one of the reasons I reached out to you to have this conversation is not just to have a commercial for our men's conference, but it is one event that is coming up, but also just to have the conversation of why it's so important, because we can go a long time without connection. As a mental health therapist, I have had multiple conversations with leaders in the church, with pastors, and one not terribly long ago where after about 30 minutes, I could tell there was a lack of connection with this client of mine who is leading a massive church. And I looked at him, I was like, who's your best friend? And it's like he almost broke because he was like, I don't know that I have one right now. And it was like, that's a reality. And that's why I think this was important. Yeah. This is an important conversation because I do believe when God created all things. He was like, he created the heavens and the earth. That was good. He created the animals. That was good. He creates Adam, and it's not that he said it wasn't good. He was like, this isn't done.
Yeah.
And the point was, it wasn't just to create a spouse. It wasn't just it was to create relationship. And he realized, because in my mind, if I was God and I created Adam, it's like all he needs is me. Like, you don't need any more relationship than that. But God knew better than that. And I do think it's important that, we do community groups. We do, different type of outreach programs and stuff. It's all about connection.
Yeah.
And I think these events, over the last couple of years, the men's conference that we've been doing, I have noticed launch relationships out of them. And last year was something, for me, was special because it was the first year of me, and I still am shocked. I'm an elder at our church. I don't know how that worked out, but it's an honor. But last year we created this prayer room, and I got to be a part of that and seeing these guys getting wrecked in the best way. And being in that room, and I'm getting emotional now just thinking about it because we're doing it again this year, and I can't wait, of guys getting hit so heavy, because we do have fun. We've thrown axes and we do these crazy things, but ultimately, that's what it's really about.
Yeah. Oh, and that is, I love you mentioned that, because that's what we want as guys to, it's almost like, I think guys, a lot of times when we need to be waking up spiritually, it's like, we don't need that. And this is what we're wired to. We don't need the gentle at times, like, hey buddy, let's do better. I think most men, we're wired to, we need a little bit of a kick in the butt, like to go, hey, like, dude, that thing you're hiding is killing your marriage, or that thing that you're wrestling with mentally, like it's wearing you down in more ways than you see, or you're isolated, you're alone. Like, guys kind of need that shock, and then to go, okay, what do I need to do? And that's where, whether it's a prayer room, whether it's, encouraging guys, we, at the conference, men don't sit in rows, they sit at tables, and that's intentional. Like, we want to give opportunity after opportunity for the moment that guy feels broken or kind of really convicted in the spirit over something, there's some type of instant communal way that he can respond, whether that's go to the prayer room, go talk to the guy at the table across from you. And again, I agree with you, man. Like, one of the best books I've ever read, it's came out a couple of years ago. It's called Made for People. And it, like, one of the things he talked about is like covenant friends. Like, you should have a few, not acquaintances, not even just friends. Like, he's like, you need to have a few covenant friends that you're in a relationship with, where you're like, everything about me. I'm going to not hide anything. You can ask me, like, and he's like, you at least got to have a few of those. Definitely one, but a few. And I think that's throughout the scriptures. I mean, everything we're called to is a communal thing. Christianity is a communal thing. Life is a communal thing. Things die in isolation, and men die and men suffer when they're isolated. And I think a lot of guys are in that spot. Yeah.
I think the other thing too is we get stuck in routine, and things like a conference break your routine. It gets you out of the cycle, and it also introduces you to things that I think you don't realize you need. A couple of the things I noticed last year with some of the engagements I had is guys that probably would have never felt the Holy Spirit move that way because they're so stuck in their cycle. But then the conference breaks that cycle. And then the other part of it is so much of, I think, gaining understanding of faith is modeled by other guys. And oftentimes we're not around enough other guys to see that. And like, I think, I like to say I have a successful marriage, but a lot of that's because I've surrounded myself with guys I look up to who have successful marriages. Like, I've shared this before. It's like, in a group of guys that I do life with, I mean, there's 10, 12 of us. I mean, a majority of them have thriving marriages. When you look at culture, culture tells us otherwise. So that's an anomaly, but it's because, I'm modeling that. I'm seeing this in guys who are a little further down the road than me, who have been living their faith out longer than I have, who have, shared things with me when I'm in my 20s and I think I have it all figured out. And all of a sudden it's like, oh my gosh, these guys are in their 30s and 40s, 50s, and they're dealing with this stuff in life, and God's putting this on their heart. And I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
Now that I'm in my 40s, I spend time with guys in their 50s, 60s, and 70s, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was almost there.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, there's even more to spiritual wisdom. There's even more, but the reason I say that is because you're in a room with 400 dudes who are in all different places of their walk.
Oh, and that's
where do you get that kind of opportunity?
Yeah, you don't. And I love it. Like, I love standing on the stage and looking out and just seeing that same thing. Like, I mean, seeing tables where it's, a dude in like 22 in our young adult ministry at a table with a guy that's in his 60s that's like early Saturday morning Bible study with the other old retired guys. So like, and they're at a table and they're chatting, they're talking, they're hearing the same message, being challenged, but because they're in very different spots, they're receiving it very differently based on where they're at. But then they share that, and it's like, yeah, I mean, we to the point, like, we value that so much. We even like give a discount, a really good one, to our young adults under 30, because we're like, man, if you're a 25-year-old guy, maybe the best thing for your faith right now is you need to be in a room with some guys that are 50, 60, that have just battled through life. And so we're like, if we just do an event and it's just one demographic age-wise of a dude, then I think we're missing what God really wants us to do.
Yeah. Again, I'm not trying to say this is a commercial for the event, but
it's a great commercial though. So yeah,
but it is important. If people are listening, if you're a wife listening and going, man, I want my husband to be at this, or if you're a dude that's listening that's in the Northeast Ohio area or beyond. We've had people from, last year I think some dude was there from Texas.
We have an Arkansas this year far. I saw that on the registration.
Yeah, I mean,
some Michigan people. Yeah,
I share this all the time. I'm thrilled that our podcast has hit every continent except Antarctica. So I'm waiting for somebody to make that trip and just listen to it one time so I can
check it off.
Check it off.
And if you're listening, come to men's conference.
That's right.
That'd be great.
No one's taking me up on that. But depending on, it doesn't matter where you're at.
Yeah.
When is the event and what do you have to do?
Yeah. So it's the end of this month, so April 25th and the 26th. So a Friday night. We get started about 7 on Friday night. We wrap up around 10:30. So it does go pretty late. But then we're back at it on Saturday from like 8 o'clock to 3:30 is it's kind of a soft ending. So kind of the last thing you have to be at, we would say, is like a 1 o'clock. And then after that, it's kind of activity. So some guys stick around, some guys jet, but 3:30 is kind of the end time. But all you got to do is sign up, register online. And we try our best. I'm really grateful to our elders and the way they give us flexibility in our budget. So we've tried to keep it really cheap. So it's only $60, which if you come to the conference and do it, you're going to realize, man, that's a bargain, because it is like basically 3 full meals. I mean, we say a nacho bar on Friday night, but it's like a full-on entree. I mean, it's great. So tons of food. We actually have this year some more kind of free stuff thrown in that you'll get throughout the conference. So $60, keep it pretty cheap, and that covers everything. And then you just got to show up and be ready to have some fun, be ready to be challenged.
And again, the conference is an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's not that there isn't other things that we can be doing.
Yeah.
But I think the important part that I wanted to make sure we hit on for this podcast is just one, what you and I are doing right now. We're 2 dudes talking about life.
Yeah.
We've done this many times before. We've gone on trips together with our families. But, I just want to encourage people from the mental health side of things, from the faith side of things. We were created to be in relationship with others. And I think sometimes our lives get too busy. Our, jobs become a grind.
Yep.
Our relationships, our marriages can be tough. And if you don't have these relationships outside of that, a good core group of guys that you're praying with, that you're in the Word with, that are encouraging, that are keeping you accountable, I think life is almost impossible to do that. And if you don't have that, places like a men's conference is a great place to. I've seen guys start those relationships at an event like that. Those are great launching pads. I can't tell you how many times I've met with people and they're like, I don't know how to start a community. This is how you do it. You know, I tell people all the time, you will start looking like who you hang out with. There's
That's
no
true.
question.
Yep.
And I've shared this with so many people. They're like, well, I go to the bars and I go out late at night because it's a ministry. And it's like, listen, if that's your inner circle, that's going to tear you down.
Yep,
you
absolutely.
can't. Now, I'm all about people having ministries. I'm
Yep.
all about that.
Yeah.
But that's not the healthy way to do that. Even Jesus insulated himself with the 12
Yep,
and then did ministry. This is how you do that,
Yeah.
you know, because I think it's hard. I think it's hard to find like-minded people.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to find people trying to head in a healthy direction in life, seeking the Lord. Okay, well, here's an option. Again, lots of churches have other ministries
Great
and
events,
and other conferences and retreats, and I'm all about it. You know, this may not be the one for you,
Absolutely.
but this is one that you and I have access to that can go, hey, be a part of that.
Yeah, and I would encourage anyone listening too, like whether it's a dude listening or maybe you're a lady and you're thinking about your husband right now. Like one of the things I've always challenged our men is in our church even too is when the men get healthy, and I think one of the main ways to get healthy is what you're saying is community. You got to be surrounded by other dudes. You got to be known. You got to be loved in that way. But when the men are healthy, everyone benefits. And that's not because women don't matter. Like obviously you need healthy women, and that, gosh, like praise the Lord for healthy moms and healthy wives, love it. But there is something about culturally when men go a certain way, whether for good or bad, it's going to impact families. It's going to impact places of work, communities. So one of the things I love to see is when men start to get serious about their faith, and part of that is becoming serious about community and friendships with other men. You start to see the fruit of that come out in their wives. Like you start to see the wife being blessed and loved and served in a way she's never have been. You see kids be blessed. Our church, I think some of the healthiness of our church has been because we force guys to not just go through the motions, but to really be serious and to be in community. So I think there's a lot of ways the world needs to get better, but I think one of the ways that the world benefits is when men are serious about their faith and serious about community, because that's gonna impact a lot of things.
Yeah, I was reading studies about this recently because we're now far enough down the road of when you can see in the 70s and 80s where in general there was a lack of men in the home. And we have a lot of data now, which we haven't had in the past, to see the effects of that long term. And it's not good. Yeah. All the research shows that is not good. And I think everybody would agree, an absentee father doesn't help the situation. Now, a lot of families have done unbelievable in that adversity. Yeah. But psychology shows us it is very beneficial for the guy to stay in that relationship. So everything you were saying, I think is completely accurate.
And shout out to if you're a young guy listening, shout out too, because I think the younger generation is feeling that, and they're doing much better at it.
Absolutely.
I am shocked when I go visit our young adult ministry. I pop in a few times a year, and to see the young adult men, so dudes in their 20s, they just long and they go after community really well. Yeah. And and that's some of the benefit of why we're like, hey, we got to get those guys at the conference, because
absolutely
they help us older dudes see, like, man. And some of that's because they're, like I said, they're the product of the generation, a couple of generations before them. They probably saw the far opposite, and they go, hey, we want to autocorrect this, which is good.
And I think there's a stigma that's kind of been erased of, it's not manly to be emotional and connect with other dudes and be open and honest. My generation and maybe some older ones, that was kind of like shunned. Yeah. And I'm seeing a really healthy correction in younger dudes who are more minded of those types of things and more communal. And, we have an amazing community group, and we're seeing that in some of our young guys where it's like, that wasn't a normal practice. To be open and share, and so that's a huge.
Well, even in the therapy world, like for you, it's I feel like, I'm 36, so growing up, I was still in that time where it's like you don't go to counseling unless you're really jacked up, so you don't. And I remember, and I grew up in that world, and I remember when I went to counseling for the first time. I had emerged, by the way, nice. Years ago, but
another commercial.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell us your emerge story.
Yeah. But I was sitting in like the waiting room or whatever, and I remember, I was like 25 at the time, whatever. And I was like terrified because the cultural, what I heard growing up in the world I was in was, man, this is where you go when you're really jacked up, and it's just that reality of like deep down, like I know I'm really jacked up, which is why I'm here, but it's that stigma. And now I love seeing some of the correction of people going, hey, like I tell our men in our men's ministry all the time, like even if you don't think you have something to go see a counselor for, you should probably just go and just dive in, because there's some wound, whether it's a huge wound or small, but there's something in your life in the past, present too, that's causing some issues in your heart and your mind, and just go talk about it. Now, you might not need as deep counseling as some other people, may not as long, but it's healthy. And so we push our men in our men's ministry all the time, like you should just go and check it out. So
I appreciate you saying that. And I think, as a community of therapists, as we've talked, not a lot of great things came out of 2020, but I do think a lot of the stigma of mental health started to shift.
That's a good point. Because
the conversations came to the forefront, and we had to address things that were not easy to address. And I think I've noticed, in particular, previous to 2020 and then after 2020, people are much more open to say, I have a therapist.
Yep.
Versus that was a kind of a secret. It was I have one. I may not talk to you about it. Where now it's like, oh yeah, I can't meet with you on Friday because I have to go to my therapy appointment.
It's a normal part of life.
Exactly,
for many people.
which I think is it's a healthy thing. It normalizes things to people who may feel like, oh man, you're really jacked up if you have to go to therapy. Now it's kind of like, oh, well, I didn't realize they go. I didn't realize they go, and they seem like pretty normal people and people I like, And
can I give an example of that?
Yep,
so
sure.
One time I was teaching. So I don't teach our men's Bible study all the time. I share it with some great dudes in the church. But I was teaching one Saturday morning for our Saturday morning Bible study, and I don't remember what I was teaching, but somewhere in the teaching I just mentioned, hey, I was processing this with my counselor recently, and I don't think in my head I intentionally was trying to say counselor to push counseling, even though I've done that. But in that case, I just said it. But a guy came up to me after, and he goes, hey. He's like, I feel like it's been like the Spirit's been really convicting me of like, I need to go talk to a counselor for some stuff that's just been buried in my life and I need to process it. And he goes, just hearing you as a pastor say you go to a counselor, that's the push. And so he went to see a counselor, and it was just like, wow. And in my mind, I'm like, I just felt like it was a passing comment, but it was a great reminder of he's just going, I think he's the example of many dudes. And he was, 40s, young 50 or bottom 50. So he's in that generation where I think for him there's a lot of stigma still. Yeah. But he felt freed up to go, and I've chatted with him since, and he's like, man, I've been able just to pull back some layers of the onion that has been life changing. And that's kind of full circle. I mean, that's why you need to get guys in that community, is just by me saying I go push that guy to go to counseling, and that's not me.
God used that,
and that's where I'm like, but that's what happens when guys talk and guys share, not when guys just keep their head down and do their own thing and isolate.
That's it, man. And some of my favorite memories for over the last couple of years from the men's conference is just the table conversations and being, raw and vulnerable, and just hearing from guys that, a lot of them I know, but some of the guys I'll just kind of see in passing at church, weekly, and all of a sudden you hear a little bit of their story, and it's like, oh my gosh, like that's incredible. I had no idea you've overcome that. I have no idea that that's what God was doing in your life, and then the next person goes and now they feel like they have license to really open themselves up. And it's like, those things, man, are healing.
Yeah,
It's
and
super healing.
our biggest complaint over the last 4 years of doing the men's conference is, and it's a good complaint, so I like this. All the guys are going, you don't give us enough table time, which is a weird, like in my head, I'm like,
it's shocking.
Like, do you want more activities? You want better food? And they're like, no, they're like, give us more. So one of the things we're doing this year in a few weeks that we're changing from past years is we're each session will have at least 20 minutes of built-in dedicated, just take the next 20 minutes and talk around your tables. Because we've done that kind of a little bit in the past over food, but guys are like, give us more of that. And so it's great to see that.
It's great to hear guys recognize that, which is so good.
100%, yeah.
Austin, dude, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
So thankful that I still can't believe this is the first time you're on the podcast.
I'm
going to own that one.
Yeah, it's okay.
We'll do more.
I've been patiently waiting. Every time you text me, I hope that, it's something about golf. I'm like, dang it, I wish it was about the podcast.
This guy asks me to golf all the time,
Yeah.
and he never asks me to do a podcast.
Yeah, it's all good.
So good. Dude, I appreciate it. Anything else for our time together today?
No, I mean, I think, if you're listening, if you're a dude, like Matt said, we don't care. If you have to travel, you can join us. If you want to come from far away and need somewhere to stay, let us know. We'll find somewhere to put you. But even, I would encourage, if you're a woman listening to this and you have a dude in your life, whether it's your husband, a son, whatever, just encourage them to go. Give them a push. Don't be afraid that you might push too hard. Like I know many guys. There's guys right now that are not just dudes in our ministry, but dudes that are involved, that are in leadership positions now, that their exposure to kind of our church and our ministry and their faith becoming real was their wife pushing them to go to men's conference or other things. So don't be afraid to push that dude in your life to go. I promise you, if they come, I think they will walk away and be very thankful you did. So
it's good. And as we're wrapping, if you wouldn't mind sharing, who is the speaker?
Yeah. So we got Chris Dew. So he is a church planner in Florida. So I don't know why he said yes this year. He is currently right now planning a church in St. Petersburg that's supposed to launch in the next couple months. So I don't know why you would speak at a conference a couple of states away, but he's a great dude, and he's got a story of kind of his, really you can sum it up. He was a heroin addict, almost died, and now he's a church planner. And so God has done a remarkable story in his life, and he's wrote a book about it. He'll share some of his story, but he's also going to be really challenging us on friendship, which is the theme this year. Which has always been baked in, but this year we're just going to hit it 110% really hard. So he's going to be with us, be speaking all the sessions.
It's good. Well, I appreciate your friendship, and
appreciate
thank you so
you,
much for doing this. And man, I'm excited. I look forward to the men's conference and hope to see just what God's going to be doing in a couple weeks. It's going to be great.
Perfect.
So whether it's a men's conference, a women's retreat, or a couples weekend, we need connection, a healthy relationship in our life. Thank you, Austin, for the heavy workload you carry at our church and the platform you have given men to connect, which has been so imperative to the growth and health of our church. If this event has prompted something in your heart, like you feel like, you know what, I got to go to this, then do it. Click the link in the show notes and sign up. If there are other events or ways for you to connect in your community, do it. Don't wait. Most of what I've seen in the mental health world are people who are experiencing issues due to broken and unhealthy relationships or the lack of relationships altogether. For more information on what Emerge does, go to emerge.org. Well, until next time, or when our Savior comes, God bless.